Stop. Help me. Well, we are able to get cutting. Gosh, that is just pretty. Just pretty. Feels good to be back in the field. I have to go slow east and north. You can see, maybe it don't show very well, but the alfalfa's kind of wind blowing and goosenecked to that northeast. So I got to go slow this way, heading obviously then the other way. It cuts clean, but beautiful first crop alfalfa, good tonnage, just starting to bloom. Yeah, that's some nice cow chow there, we'll call it. I liked an old 1600. It needs a little paint. Mechanically, it's pretty all right. And for covering a few hundred acres several times a year, the cost is just right. Someday I would love to spend the 30 or 40 grand on a nice disc mower, you know, a hydro swing like this. I like my little Massey disc mower. It's cheap, it cuts fast, and it does a good job, other than in alfalfa like this, you would see a lot of swept stems being left behind. And that old mower, you know, for 30 years old, you can't afford to replace it. Not for, like I said, covering a few hundred acres a few times a year, it ain't worth it. I'll just keep fixing this one as long as I can. Should paint it. I should paint it this way. But because of all the water, I follow the ditch line down. We're not driving through any ditches. There's still water in the ditches, but we need to get cutting. Wouldn't it be nice if you didn't have to worry about the weather for making this a quality product? You know, like, oh, am I going to get it up before the next rain? All that crap, and oh, I got bills to pay, and all that stuff. Wouldn't it be nice to just come out and just one day a week or a couple hours every day just cut alfalfa? I like it because it rakes better too. I think I said that before. With our V-rake, it'll pull these two together into one. Forecast says a couple hundreds tonight, and other than that, we've got a clear forecast. So we'll let this sit until it looks like we're running into another rain, and then decide, do we run preservative and still end up with dry hay, or do we go a little earlier and end up with some silage on it, or baleage? We'll call that, but the forecast looks like it should be dry. Yeah, here's where the ditch makes a hard turn and heads to that power pole. I don't know what to do. The north half, I open it up, and that north half is just soaking wet, yet the south piece went really well. I'm almost tempted to just quit there, and I want to make dry hay, but the forecasts don't look like it's going to cooperate, so maybe I just rake this up and do this little piece here for wet hay and the opening round. So the north half we just do wet hay, and then let's finish row crops, and then maybe we get into a pattern that we can just make dry hay. And so yeah, here's the cows. We got one that mom ain't quite producing much milk, so Karen's give him a little bottle attention, and if she wants it, she gets it, and if she's content, then she won't drink. And so let's check in. Well, I'm raking up the hay. Yesterday was when I cut. Today, let's rake bale ramp. So this is pasture 3, and you can see the water backing up that way as well. The other day, we brought the cows from the north end of 2 to the south end of 3. That night, we got almost 4 inches of rain. And so the north end of 2, where the cows were, is low, and most of that was underwater. And most of this was underwater. In fact, you can see in the alfalfa where the water backed way up into the alfalfa. So we kept them on the south end of 2 and 3, brought the hay feeder back out with some bales so they could just eat and lay and not graze, to allow the pasture to heal up some. It's going to be a while before we get through here. It's deep here. As you get to the other side by the bales, by number 2, it shallows up pretty good. But right now there's enough water we can't even get the 4-wheeler across to start doing daily moves. And so we'll just start moving up pasture 2 now again, and then just see what happens. You know, in a week, will this water be gone some, or do we get more rain? We'll figure something out. But yeah, at some point we'll have to, I guess if we get to the other end of 2 again, then we'll have to bring them down, and no matter what, build a road or something. Oh boy, oh boy. We haven't finished planting. We haven't done spraying. We got to get the first round of fertilizer on the corn. And so the crops that are up are becoming a mess, and the crops that aren't in them fields are a mess. It's just, we were wet coming into a week of rain, and you got 9 inches of topsoil, and you get 5 inches of rain in 5 days when that 9 inches is already wet. And yeah, it's literally that clay underneath us percolates very, very slow, and that's the problem. We don't have much holding capacity because we don't have much space to put it, and at the same time we can become very drought prone very quickly because the plants don't root down, and then the water will go away very quickly out the top. But yeah, so we're just going to do these headlands in this field. The rest of this field can wait a week or 2. Let's get done with row crops. Oh, the sweet, sweet smell of the propionic, however you pronounce that word, acid. The sweet smell of green acid. So the system's pulling itself on and filling itself up. So hopefully in a couple minutes, or maybe it takes 5-10 minutes, whatever, it can sit here and pump. I'll go wash my nozzle off. The rate that this goes on will be by dumb luck, will be a similar setting as to the ratio of water mixture I had for the wet bales. And so, or at least that's where we'll start. And in theory, on paper, it should be close. Yeah, yep. So that's what the sky looks like. Haven't seen it for a while. Yesterday was 14-mile-an-hour winds and some heat. Today the sun is hot here, but out in the open we got a 16-mile-an-hour wind, and it's a little bit cooler. But with that wind and them big fluffy windrows I got, oh boy, that hay should be good and dry. 2 out of 2 steers approve of the alfalfa, apparently. So they got the old dry cow pasture on the other side of the barn. There's a pasture that wraps around there. It's several acres. And we put them out a little soon, and that's one challenge. We'll talk about that in a different video. One challenge of turning the steers out on grass when it's just a little too soon. They lose some fat. They don't lose muscle, but they lose some fat. But this alfalfa and that mature brome grass, that'll bring it back on. So they can just lay here and eat. There's a horse bale, the low quality hay back in the shed to also help put a little on them, but yeah. Well, here we go. Last night I did the headlands and got them wrapped. It dried a lot yesterday. Today it didn't dry much at all. And so it tested right around that 50% area, which is perfect. Makes some beautiful feed for us. Wonderful. Oh yeah, this alfalfa always does good tonnage. But yeah, so we just got this little bit to bale up, and then I need just a touch. I should have hit wrap on the headland while I turned around, but yeah, get this baled up, wrapped up, and then tomorrow we attempt row crops. Ooh, exciting. A sea of white. That's always, or the start of, but that's always a fun sight to see, is when they're all wrapped up. And so guys, next time we see each other, hopefully I'm back to planting and spraying and finishing up beans.